roll on through another afternoon here. If you happened to have missed any of the Schmidt Show episodes, we've got it on demand. You can go see on our website on the on demand page. You can listen not only to me, but you can get the Steve Finnegan Show there. You can get the Wildman Wilson show as well, Call of the Wild, and you can also, we are working on, hopefully very soon, going to have the Dan Harpool, or Complete Computing with Dan Harpool up there as well. Hopefully very soon. We're working out all of the technology side of that stuff, so hopefully we'll get that up and running as well very soon. A couple of quick mentions here. We got Nothing Bundt Cakes going live at 9 a.m. on Thursday in our sweet deals over at our website, newsradio1029.com. $25 gets you $50 worth of Nothing Bundt Cakes. Of course, if you haven't had the Snickerdoodle flavored Nothing Bundt Cake, you are missing out. It is absolutely fantastic. They've also got special flavors from time to time. A while back, they had Reese's Peanut Butter Cup and some other things. So you're definitely going to want to get on that Thursday morning, 9 a.m. And then on Friday morning, 9 a.m., just down the road from Nothing Bundt Cakes is Whole Hog Cafe and the Whole Hog Barbecue. Friday morning, 9 a.m., $25 gets you 50 there. Their brisket burnt ends are fantastic. I've eaten them many times and quite enjoy them. So definitely got some cool sweet deals this week, so you're going to want to check those out. As we get into the show today, as we talk about all the great things that we've got going on, or all of the interesting things, I should say, going on, the Surgeon General has issued a statement claiming that the firearm, sorry, lost my train of thought there for a second. The firearm violence crisis in America is now a public health crisis, which allows them, or will eventually allow them, to engage in all sorts of shenanigans and do all sorts of things to trample on our rights as states and our rights as individuals as well. So we'll be talking about that. In fact, my good friend and friend of the show, Michael White, is going to be joining us about this, because in fact he is is, as far as I know, other than the talk about that I've had about this, he is the only person that I'm aware of in the political world, because he's also running for, not as only he's a friend of the show, but he's running for District 75 to be a state representative here in Arkansas. He talked about this right here on the Schmidt Show not long ago, about how this is what one of the things the federal government will use to impose their will upon the states. They are going to use this to say, well, because firearm violence is a public health crisis, if you don't comply with the federal government in various restrictions towards guns and firearms, we're going to remove your funding from Medicare, Medicaid, and those sorts of things. And because the state of Arkansas is so heavily reliant upon the federal government for their funding at places like UAMS and Baptist Health and CHI St. Vincent, these places are so heavily dependent on federal funding from Medicare and Medicaid and others, they will have no choice but to comply. And so you may very soon, if this is allowed to stand, you may very soon be seeing federal restrictions on firearms, California-level restrictions on firearms, firearm sales, firearm purchases, firearm technology and equipment right here in Arkansas, one of the reddest states in the country and one of the states with the most effective and positive Second Amendment states in the country. So this is a real problem that will genuinely affect us right here in Arkansas. So the fact that they are labeling the problem of firearm violence as a public health crisis is not just braggadocio and empty words. This is a very real threat to our liberty here in the state of Arkansas from the federal government, and not just Arkansas, but of course every state across the country. And we may very well see a radical restriction of firearms and firearm ownership right here in the state of Arkansas because of it. This is one of the things that I've talked about in the past, not just with firearms, but anytime the federal government or really any government entity at all, anytime they tell you this is an emergency and we have to declare some sort of an emergency and therefore claim some sort of emergency powers, you can almost guarantee that there are going to be rights of individuals that are going to be trampled on and stomped on by the government. I get that we need from time to time emergency declarations for, things like the tornado that happened, a year and a few months ago, various emergencies as it relates to weather and cleanup after natural disasters and things like that. But anytime the government is telling you that they have to declare some sort of crisis or some sort of emergency, they are almost guaranteed to be preparing to trample your rights, your liberties as an individual, and in this case, probably even as states, because the best example of this that I can give is back in whatever it was, the 80s, whenever they had the 55 mile an hour speed limit. The 55 mile an hour speed limit law was not anything that the federal government had any right to impose upon the states. But what they did was said, hey, this issue of traffic fatalities is a public health crisis and it is an emergency. And if you do not comply with the federal government and setting your speed limits to 55 in all 50 states, we will simply remove any sort of federal funding. And you will not get any federal funding for your roads. And all of the roads in your state will fall apart and all of the roads in your state will be destroyed unless you comply and change your speed limit to 55 miles an hour. That was the federal government imposing their will upon the states, using the purse strings to strangle you with. And that is exactly what is going to happen with this situation. The Surgeon General, by declaring firearm violence a public health crisis in this country, is going to absolutely eventually become the federal government strangling you with the purse strings. And we here in the state of Arkansas need to figure out, as I mentioned the other day, just 4 days ago on the show, we need to figure out a way to disconnect ourselves from the federal government and simply tell them we will not be taking any money from you and there will be nothing you can do to tell us how to operate or run our state. Unfortunately, like I said, most of these hospitals, most of the medical establishment in the state of Arkansas and everywhere else is so dependent on federal money, on federal Medicaid, Medicare, and other federal dollars, whether it's through Obamacare or any of the others, they will have no choice but to comply. And then I ask you, what will you do? What will you do when your option is health care or give up your guns? Oh, you need a medical procedure that's covered by Medicare? We see that you have way too many guns in your home, and we think you are a threat to public health, so we're not going to give you any you can get whatever medical care you want. You just have to pay for it yourself. Or give up your guns in one way or another, and we'll let you have the benefits that you've paid for, by the way, through the forced taxation of your income through the Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security tax. The money that you have been forced to pay to the government will be withheld from you unless you comply with what the federal government says you have to do. Tell me how this is not tyranny. Tell me how this is not the federal government overreaching every bit of their authority into your lives. And here's the thing, living here in Pulaski County and our cowardly Sheriff Higgins, do you think he's going to stand up to the federal government? Do you think he's going to stand up to the state and protect your rights as citizens? Elections matter. Elections have consequences. We had an opportunity to elect a sheriff in blue Keller that would have protected our rights. Instead, we have Eric Higgins, who is, as I've mentioned many times, quite possibly the most corrupt public official in the entire state of Arkansas. We'll continue with the Schmidt Show next on News Radio 102.9 KRN.